All right. Is Aladdin in another book besides
The
one that
1000.
you mentioned? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So 1001 Nights is a book that's like has a ton of stories inside of it, and Aladdin is one of the stories, and so is The Fisherman and the Genie, which is one that you heard.
And why did Chief Sky say that the three men had to take his place? Why he was looking for a new chief?
He was very old, and he knew that he wouldn't be able to do it much longer, so he wanted to find a good replacement while he was still able to make the decision.
And they're asking about the moral of the story of the fisherman and the genie.
Okay.
What that was trying to teach, or maybe just entertain.
Yeah. So while, overall a lot of fairy tales in the Middle East weren't meant to teach a moral lesson, you can definitely get one about arrogance. Like the genie was like, I can be greater than a mountain, or I can be small, I can be anything I want. And that's what eventually got himself stuck back in the bottle. So there's definitely a moral story to that one.
All right. And why did the genie want to kill the first person he saw?
All right. Yeah, I actually know the answer to that one. So you asked why the genie wanted to kill the first person that he saw. Well, because what you heard was basically a simplified tale of the story, because it's kind of long. But basically what had happened was that the genie was stuck in a bottle, and that he initially, for the first 100 years, he was like, if someone were to set me free from this bottle, I will grant them like all these riches and stuff like that. But as time went on, he got very frustrated that he wasn't let out of the bottle. So eventually he got angry and was like, I will kill the first person that like opens this bottle. And unfortunately, Abdul opened the bottle at the wrong time. So.
And they want you to kind of explain again why the last guy was the one chosen as chief in your story.
Sure. So he was chosen because the chief realized that he, first of all, followed his instructions, while the other two really didn't follow his instructions. They kind of took the easy way out. But he also respected the fact that he was not only worried about their people, but he was worried about, other tribes near them. And he wanted to take care of not only their tribe, but everyone else. He saw that he was selfless, and he thought that that would make him a good leader.
Okay. And how did you find these fables or choose these ones? Why do you guys, how you found them, and why you decided to tell them?
Well, I can also speak a little bit of Persian. So we actually learned to read and write Persian by reading these stories, even as an adult. So that's how even now we teach language, just like we teach to you guys. We start with stories and they get more complex. So I had heard this story before, and since it's very similar to the tortoise and the hare, I thought I would share it with you.
I actually had a Cherokee teacher read the story to me. So I liked it a lot, and I thought it taught a good lesson. So I wanted to share it with you guys.
Yeah, I found my story through a lot of research, a lot of fairy tales, because I definitely wanted to do something from 1001 Nights because it's probably the most famous book. But I wasn't sure which, and I thought that this one had like a really good kind of beginning, middle, end to it that I wanted to share with you guys.
I don't know if you guys have any recommendations of other stories that you know, or other books from those countries that you would recommend to them for K-12, or we can also send it to them later if you have any other ideas.
Well, sometimes it can be difficult because a lot of the stories from Persia haven't really been translated in English, so you have to kind of read them in their original language. They've done a few, but not as many as, say, 1001 Nights, which is more popular. So we'll have to find some and send it to you guys.
So there's like a lot of different books of different compilations of these stories. I learned most of the stories that I know from a book called The Cherokee Stories of the Turtle Island Liars Club, because the Cherokee actually don't have a word for storytelling, so they refer to themselves as liars because they're telling a story that might not have necessarily actually happened. And I think it's a really great book. So yeah.
I guess, nothing really comes to mind, like, especially, but I feel that a lot of other stories from 1001 Nights, they have a lot of stories to choose from if you're interested.
And they want to know why you guys chose the places you went to, if you went somewhere else, or maybe tell a little bit more about your connection to the countries.
Well, I've been to Afghanistan a number of times, and I was also taught the language, so I'm familiar with that. And a lot of people haven't been there, so it was kind of something new to talk about and to share. So that's why I chose Afghanistan.
I chose Eastern Band Cherokee because I live very close to there and grew up going there. I also took a Cherokee class at UNC recently that was really interesting, and also my great grandmother as Cherokee. So that's another reason.
That's cool. Yeah, I chose Jordan because, as I said earlier, I went and traveled to Jordan a couple summers ago. I had the opportunity to learn Arabic there, and it was great. I learned so much. So I encourage you guys, if you guys have any languages you want to know, look for countries that speak that language because it really opens your eyes.
Perfect segue.
Mhm.
They want to know if you can say something for them in a different language, either just hello or how are you, or just something simple if you
Introduce yourselves.
Share.
Let's see. Well, a phrase they'll often say is "Bache ye gaba helihu khadan," which means "boys and girls be good." So that's what they tell little kids. So make sure you're good.
So I know very little Cherokee, but they refer to kind of the land that they live on in Eastern Band as Anigadu Wagi, which means the land given to the people from God.
Yeah, and a common greeting is Assalamu alaikum, and saying, hi, my name is Chloe. Ismi Chloe, and yeah, I guess basic greeting like that.
And they asked how old some of the folktales are. I know you mentioned yours was from the 8th century, but I know they're very old. You might not have the exact time.
Yeah, we're not really sure. I mean, this part of the world around Iran and Afghanistan is so old that it goes back to like the ancient Greeks and even before then. So some of the first people lived in that region. So the stories could be maybe 3,000-4,000 years. They're not really sure, and they're passed down, and slightly things change and everything. So I really don't know. Very, very, very old, older than all of us here.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, same for the Cherokee. They've been living in the United States way before it was the United States. So we really don't know exactly when, but we know that they're very old.
Are there any interesting or different foods in any of these places that you'd like to tell us about, or from these cultures?
Yeah, the food is interesting. There's a lot of interesting foods in that region. They eat something called habzi khodan, which is a type of like dip. The thing you guys might be familiar with, it's also in the Middle East, is like hummus. They also do kebabs, jello kebab, which is a type of lamb. They take pieces of meat, they put a metal spike through it, and they grill it. So that's starting to become a little bit popular here in America, but not as popular as hamburgers yet. But,
yeah.
So
it's getting there.
So, I mean, Cherokee is in the United States, so they eat mostly the same things that we do. I guess traditionally they had a lot of corn-based dishes. They have a bread called fry bread that's delicious, but mostly they eat the same things that we do.
Yeah, in Jordan, it's very similar to, I guess, a lot of the food from like different Persian countries. I would say mainly a lot of the food they eat has chicken and rice in it. Chicken is a very popular meat in the Middle East, so yeah.
A lot of lamb also.
Oh yeah, lamb.
They eat a lot of lamb.
Lamb is very popular as well.
And how long have you been participating in Carolina Navigators, and maybe why you wanted to participate?
Well, we've been doing this now for what, a few months at least.
Since end of August, beginning of September.
Yeah, end of August. So it sounded like an interesting program. So I thought I would give it a shot and see how I could help out and see what I could learn. So yeah.
I love teaching, and I wanted to kind of share my knowledge about Cherokee because it's not something that we always learn about in school. So I thought it was important to talk about.
Yeah, I interned here over the summer, and because I thought this organization was really great in its mission to definitely reach to you guys and show you guys all different cultures around the world that, it might be harder to learn about. But yeah, that's basically why I joined Carolina Navigators.
Let me say, do all folk tales have morals?
Some do, some don't, especially in these regions. some of the tales in Persian are actually for adults, and they're really, really long, and they don't really teach. They're really just for entertainment. So, but a lot of the ones for children have more of a moral tale.
For the Cherokee, they either do have a moral, most of them do, or they explain how something came to be. There's a lot of stories about why animals are the way they are. Like there's a story explaining why rabbits' ears are so long, or why possums play dead. So they don't necessarily have morals, but they do always teach something.
Yeah, and I would say in the Middle East, as I said earlier, a lot of stories are for more entertainment than to teach lessons. But if you do get a lesson out of it, I mean, it's not a bad thing.
It's always a good thing.
It's
Yeah.
always good.
And if you guys want to each just tell like a little bit of some basic facts about the countries or the cultures that you're familiar with, just give them a little bit of more information.
Well, Afghanistan is an interesting country. It's very, very old. It's they found ruins there dating back 6,000 years. So, they had, for example, giant Buddhas that were carved in the side of a mountain that have since been destroyed, unfortunately. But there's about 30 million people there. It's about roughly the size of Texas. So, it's a pretty good size area. A lot of mountains, some of the tallest mountains in the world border that region. So it's an interesting place. A lot of in America, there's probably about 5,000 to 6,000 Afghans who live here. There's more Iranians who live here, but so you don't really interact as much with these cultures.
So Eastern Band Cherokee has been here, for way longer than even the United States has been here. They were here before we had Christopher Columbus or anything like that. And there's an Eastern Band, and then there's a band in Oklahoma as well. And they got separated via the Trail of Tears, I'm sure many of you have heard of. The Eastern Band were able to remain where they're at, even though they tried to forcibly remove them because they were able to hide in the mountains where they still live, because like a lot of the soldiers who were supposed to be removing them just couldn't find them because they weren't as good at hiding and climbing mountains in the way that Cherokee were. So they ended up remaining where they are, basically by hiding. So that's just a really interesting story about why there's an Eastern Band and why there's a band in Oklahoma too.
Didn't know that. Yeah, Jordan is a country, as I said earlier, in the Middle East. You might have seen earlier, it's near like countries like Saudi Arabia. But yeah, it's a very old region, very old area. In fact, it has like one of the 7 wonders of the world called Petra. So if you want to visit all 7 wonders, then you're going to have to go to Jordan. It also has like a lot of interesting landmarks with it. It's right beside the Dead Sea, which is that one body of water where you just float because it's so salty. So it's really cool over there. They speak Arabic, mainly in Jordan, and there's a really big refugee population. In Jordan, a lot of them are Palestinian. So it's really interesting to see all of these different people from the region connect in one place.
Another interesting thing I want to say about the Cherokee is that only about 250 people in Cherokee actually speak Cherokee anymore. So they're very concerned about the language kind of dying out. So it's a very important language to learn.
Okay. Let me see if there's any more questions. That might be it. I was gonna ask if they have any more questions to type in the chat.
Anything else you want to know?
Yeah.
All right. If not, you guys can.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Have a good day.
All right, we will be back at 2 p.m. For another presentation on some important landmarks and places that are in Panama, India, Poland, and Canada. So hopefully we'll see you guys back in a little bit. Bye.
Bye.
All right.